Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, Kyril, creating more widely shared prosperity in such a dynamic global city like Paris is really important. At Sport dans la Ville, we have been doing this by helping young people living in underprivileged neighborhoods take advantage of the city's many opportunities. What is JPMorgan Chase doing to drive inclusive growth, and why?
First, I'm very honored to be in front of so many city leaders and people managing regions, because clearly you are the driver of the local, the regional, and the national economies. As a bank like JPMorgan, clearly the largest bank in the US, employing 250,000 employees and serving so many clients and communities, we have a social responsibility, not only in the US, but also globally. So to do that, we have a foundation which is investing about $250 million per annum in many projects around the world. Many of you who live in the US, you're probably aware of what we've done with the city of Detroit, where we decided to commit $150 million to redevelop, to redesign the city of Detroit. And we have also committed 60 people, 60 bankers, to work with the mayor, Duggan, to achieve that project. So when you're a global player, clearly you have a unique insight on these issues of inclusive growth, and we're trying indeed, like Mayor Hidalgo said, to think global and to act local.
Kyril, we have been working together for many years through Sport dans la Ville, and it is a partnership that we highly value. But I also know that JPMorgan Chase has a much bigger presence in France. What are you trying to achieve here?
So we have been in France since 1868, 150 years. Most of the time we present ourselves in France as a French bank with an American brand. Unfortunately, we have only 250 employees in Paris, but the good news, they are all committed to programs, to be mentors, to participate to many projects. So what we do is we have two objectives. The first one is to fight unemployment, especially unemployment of young people in underprivileged areas. And the second thing we're trying to do is to create job opportunities in these areas. And we're doing that by investing in about 20 projects over the last 5 years, about, I would say, 5 to 6 projects per annum. And to give you a couple of examples, we work with Sport dans la Ville, which is working on inclusion via sport. And they are basically managing about 6,000 kids per annum, and they basically drive them in the right direction, giving them the right values to potentially work in big corporations. The second project that, for instance, we are very proud of is one project called Mosaic RH, which is a social headhunter, because clearly today, when in France you have a difficult name, you are living in a sensitive zip code area, and you have no professional network, I can tell you it's extremely difficult to find a job, whatever your diploma is. So we're helping to coach these little kids to access the marketplace. Another project that we have, for instance, in France is a project called Tissons la Solidarité, which is a project where we're helping single mothers with young kids to find jobs by developing skills to become dressmakers and to work in the luxury good area where you have a lot of shortage of talent.
Well, it is great that you are working with so many organizations to tackle these issues from different perspectives, but we also know that financial investment is just one aspect of your efforts. In fact, we found the experience for instance, of bringing Sport dans la Ville participants to your offices in Paris and London, a unique and truly inspiring aspect of our partnership, making a direct impact on young people's lives and working careers. How else are you utilizing your people and assets to strengthen your corporate responsibility goals?
So indeed, what we do with Sport dans la Ville is every year we organize a tour in London where the young kids go and visit the trading floors, which is quite impressive for these young kids if they want to work in finance. The bad news is that I'm not sure that many kids want to work in finance these days. They would rather become self-entrepreneurs, develop their startups, or work in iconic companies. We've done that, by the way, by teaming up with the American Embassy to find jobs for kids in iconic American companies like Nike, like Microsoft, like Google or Coca-Cola, where these guys would rather go and work than in the French railway or in large corporations that are maybe less appealing. What we do with our people is we try to use them as mentors, as sponsors of some of our projects. So some people will help young people to basically develop their own network by spending a little bit of time with them. What we have done also recently is to organize a school challenge, because one of the issues in France is you have a shortage of engineers, about 100,000 jobs per annum, and you realize when you go in the underprivileged areas that only 1 kid out of 7 go and select or pursue a scientific studies, which is only 1 out of 2 in high-income revenue people backgrounds. So we thought that it was important to go and see these kids and to explain why it makes sense to go in and pursue scientific careers. So what we did is to select 2 schools in underprivileged areas and to go with a team of 30 people from the bank to go and teach to about 60 kids the value and the merits to go and pursue some scientific studies. So we go to the Cité des Sciences, we try to design drones, to design products, to see what can be the interesting projects to make your city more livable, like Anne Hidalgo explained. And I have to say that it works pretty well. We're doing, by the way, the same in London, the same in Milan, and what we do is also an exchange program at the end of the program to get these kids to meet and to share best practices.
We're less than 7 years away from when the Olympics come to Paris. Mayor Anne Hidalgo underscores the importance of making the Paris Olympics a tool to give hope, inspiration, and opportunities to young people. At Sport dans la Ville, as an active member of the social legacy program of the Olympic Games, we are getting ready to boost our operations and programs to help thousands of youth. How important is this agenda to JPMorgan Chase?
It is important because you want to have a legacy. When you organize Olympics, you create infrastructures, and I understand that the objective of Anne Hidalgo is to have the greenest Olympics, but it's also to have a very high social impact. And we have met with her team when she was preparing to win these Olympics. She managed to get Mohamed Yunus, the Nobel Prize, to be part of her team, to get somebody that we are, by the way, sponsoring with our foundation, who's Nicolas Hazard, who was really in charge of all these social impact investments, who's working for an innovation lab that we are sponsoring with the foundation of JPMorgan. And I have to say that this is very important. London was probably the first city to take that social impact into account when they had the Olympics 4 years ago. Paris, I think, will be the next city to do that. And we see, and the way that JPMorgan Foundation is going to be involved is by pushing and trying to convince all the associations that we're working with, like Sport dans la Ville, like Mosaic RH, like Adiv, to basically be part of these Olympics, because the good news is that many of the sites that will be built in underprivileged areas of Paris, in Saint-Denis and all these regions, but also we want the communities of these suburbs to participate to the economic value creation of the Olympics. And I really hope that there will be a very high inclusive legacy in the Olympics in Paris.
Thank you very much, Kyril.
Thank you very much to all of you.